Good afternoon, everyone. Less than 2 weeks ago, my office filed a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's illegal freeze of federal funding because of its direct impact on Pennsylvania state government and our work to serve the good people of this great Commonwealth. On the day we filed that lawsuit, at least $2.1 billion in federal funding that had been appropriated by Congress and obligated by the federal government to our state agencies was frozen or placed on an undefinitive review. That included funding to prevent sinkholes and make abandoned minelands safe, funding to plug abandoned wells that were leaking toxic chemicals into our communities, and funding to reduce energy costs for homeowners and ensure the water flowing to Pennsylvanians' faucets was clean and pure. Today, I'm here to provide an update on where things stand with that litigation. As a result of our lawsuit and our continued pressure and engagement with the Trump administration, in which we demanded that the administration comply with the legal injunctions currently in place, we made clear that we were ready to seek immediate relief from the courts. Every dollar that we identified at the filing of our lawsuit is currently unfrozen and once again accessible to all Pennsylvania state agencies. Let me say that again. Every single dollar that we identified at the filing of our lawsuit is currently unfrozen and once again accessible to Pennsylvania state agencies. With the funding restored, we will now resume critical programs and infrastructure projects that have been jeopardized by this illegal freeze. I know that there were some who questioned why we would sue the federal government in this matter. As I said at the time, legal action was not my first choice. And in fact, after the funding freeze went into effect in late January, we actively engaged with our federal partners, especially the leader of the Republican congressional delegation, Senator McCormick, as well as the Trump administration, to try and get these funds unfrozen. We saw some progress, but despite those efforts and multiple court orders to release those funds, billions of dollars owed to Pennsylvanians remained tied up weeks later. That is why we sought and received delegation from the Office of the Attorney General to represent my office and affected state agencies in this litigation. Look, you don't need to be a former Attorney General or even a lawyer to understand this. This is basic stuff the kids learn in middle school. It's how our Constitution works. Congress passed laws committing billions of dollars to the states for serious needs. The president then signed those bills into law. Then the federal government entered into contracts with state government agencies, agreements with state agencies to get those dollars out into people's communities. Those agreements are binding. To put it simply, a deal is a deal. The Trump administration is legally required to provide these funds to Pennsylvania. That is why I took legal action, to protect Pennsylvanians. But here's the thing, in our administration, we are capable of walking and chewing gum at the same time. So even after we filed our lawsuit 11 days ago, my team and I continued to engage with the Department of Justice and with the Trump administration directly. When I was at the White House on Friday, I again raised the issue of our frozen federal funding to President Trump's senior team and members of his cabinet. I urged them to follow the law and to honor their agreements with Pennsylvania. As a result of that direct engagement last week, our funding is unfrozen. They are now following the law, and we will continue to press our case. For now, thanks to the federal funding flowing to our agencies once again, we can resume the important work for the good people of Pennsylvania without subjecting Pennsylvanians to the risk of the Commonwealth receiving a bill for work that should have been paid for by the federal government. Work that includes plugging orphaned and abandoned wells and creating good-paying jobs in the process, especially in our rural communities. Work to clean up our waterways, help our farmers deal with runoff that leads into the Chesapeake Bay, and ensure Pennsylvanians have clean water when they turn on the tap. Work to repair abandoned mines before they turn into sinkholes that endanger people's homes and businesses, and so we can prevent another tragedy like we had in Westmoreland County back in December. Pennsylvania is home to more abandoned mines than any other state in the entire country. And we still have 140,000 acres that need to be fixed. We're resuming work to reduce utility bills for consumers and make sure that rural communities have reliable access to electricity. As a result of the freeze, several ongoing projects in the western part of our Commonwealth, employing dozens of Pennsylvanians, were forced to stop work. These folks can now get back on the job, knowing that I will continue to have their backs. As governor, it is my job to protect Pennsylvania's interest, and I will use every tool at my disposal, from legal action to my direct engagement, to make sure that Pennsylvanians are protected and that the funds Pennsylvanians rely on every day, the funds that Pennsylvanians pay in federal taxes, make their way back to our Commonwealth, and we receive every federal dollar that we are owed. I want to thank you for being here on short notice, and I'm happy to take a couple quick questions on this topic if you have any. Dennis?
Governor, can you clarify? So you're saying you spoke with senior Trump people and they just decided to unfreeze, or was there a court component to this as well, that they may have recognized they were on the losing side of it? What can you...
I directly engaged with senior Trump administration officials. My legal team, led by Mike Fisher, Jacob Boyer, Jen Selber, directly engaged with the Department of Justice, and those funds are unfrozen at this time.
Governor, you said all the funds identified in your lawsuit have been restored. Are there any funds not identified in the lawsuit that Pennsylvania is still not receiving?
Well, we identified the funds that were frozen in our lawsuit, and all of them have been unfrozen.
Things have shifted in the 2 weeks since you filed that, so I don't know if there's been any further withholding of funds beyond that.
No, if there was, we would add it to our lawsuit. Everything that we described, the reason I stated that way is we enumerated what was frozen in our lawsuit. You should have a copy of that, and all of that is unfrozen.
Governor, can you describe the conversations between you and your fellow governors and the president himself at the White House when it came to funding?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of any conversations. I think you all have known me long enough to know that when you're in the room, when you're directly engaging that way, that those conversations need to remain private. I can tell you that I was very direct with them. They were very responsive to me, and as a result, Pennsylvania now has what is duly owed to us. Okay?
What's your level of concern regarding the Trump administration? I got a couple emails today from federal employees who live in Pennsylvania that were given that note about defend what you did in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that here, Dennis. I'm really just focused on our funding. Again, we're going to continue to make sure we protect Pennsylvania's interest in what is owed and obligated to this Commonwealth legally. Okay? Jill, last question.
What has it been like working with Attorney General Sunday on this issue, and did you want to step in and sue the administration?
We work well together. And look, as I said at the Attorney General's swearing in, I wish him well. We're going to continue to work with him. Understanding that seeking and receiving delegation is something the Office of General Counsel does with the Office of Attorney General every day. When I was Attorney General, we delegated many matters to the Wolf administration. It's part of a normal course of business.
Sir, while we have you, in light of the shooting that happened on Saturday, are you able to speak to the state of security in our medical facilities here in Virginia?
Well, let me just say this generally. Obviously, I was at York Memorial, UPMC Memorial in York on Saturday. It was so tragic. We saw the worst of humanity with the shooter's conduct, but we also saw the best of humanity, the way the healthcare workers responded, the the way law enforcement responded to try and keep themselves safe. And in the process, I know they saved lives of others who were at risk. My heart breaks for Officer Duarte's family. I spent a considerable amount of time with his mother and his stepfather. We had the opportunity to talk a lot about the young officer and how much he loved his community. He moved to this community in West York Borough to serve that area. He really was the best of us, someone who quite literally ran toward danger while others understandably ran away. My heart just breaks for him. I visited with the wounded officers and their families as well, and I continue to pray for them and wish them a full and speedy recovery. And I've engaged directly with Leslie Davis and the folks at UPMC, the hospital that was affected, to make sure they understand that if they have any particular needs for security for their personnel, that they're to let us know. They've not asked for anything at this time. Understand that multiple departments responded to Memorial to join UPMC police who were already engaging with the shooters. So UPMC had a police force already in the hospital doing their best to save lives, and I commend them for their work. Okay? Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.